Good morning, campers, and welcome to Radio Camp Half-Blood. I'm B.
And I'm Zach.
And this week, we read Chapter 20 of Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. I battle my jerk relative. Don't we all have jerk relatives? I was thinking about that just the other day, that everyone kind of has at least one relative that they really hope that guy isn't going to be there at Christmas. Like, oh, please, I don't want to deal with this.
Well, I mean, we all have, our curmudgeon-y people. Like, I consider, I have some people, cousins, aunts, uncles. Like, some people, they're just, Oscar the Grouch sometimes. And it's just, you could just stay home and, watch the Gun Channel or the Knife Show. B, what did you think of this chapter?
It was exciting, because stuff is happening. We're finally figuring out what's going on with Ares and the rest of the gods, and people pulling strings, or I guess gods pulling strings to try and get each other to fight. I like that we finally get to see the confrontation. I mean, this is basically leading up to the end of the book. We're only what are we? We're 2 or 3 chapters away from the end.
We have 2 chapters left.
Yeah, so we're really close to the conclusion.
Can you believe it? It only took us 3 short months.
Yeah, only 3 short months.
And if you order now, you might get an extra bonus episode of a commentary.
Actually, that's true.
Order now.
Order now. Just $1 a month. Actually, that is way more of a deal than a Le Creuset cast iron skillet, though my sister probably still wants a Le Creuset cast iron skillet and also, Dutch oven.
The one thing I liked about this chapter as well is that we had action, but we also had kind of almost the denouement of just, the big action, but now we kind of have the nice cliffhanger at the end, and it's who's really pulling the strings?
Yeah.
There's so many questions that have just been, proposed, that's, next chapter we're going to figure out, we're going to get these answers, and it's interesting because with Percy, he's gotten to the point where it's well, I feel like a Raggedy Ann doll. Time to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, everybody's been kind of played as pawns. So we know that Ares is involved, but it's not just him. There's also some involvement of Zeus going on.
And there's some involvement of campers, and there's some involvement of other people that we don't know of, or there might actually be a big mastermind.
It hasn't been revealed who his friend is who's going to betray him, because Ares isn't his friend, so that's not a friend betrayal. So that doesn't match the oracle, what the oracle said. So someone still has to betray him in some way.
That's the great thing about this book is, there's still mystery upon mystery, and it's not like someone is the James Bond villain where Percy's strapped up to a table, and it's Ares is why, yes, Mr. Jackson, I'm going to explain my plan to you in 85 sheets of PowerPoints.
Yeah, exactly. I just imagine this clicking through.
Chapter 1.
It all started when I was a boy.
I am the god of war. And then it just goes to, you might know me as other names like Mars or Sarah or all these other things, just going through the list. But here it's just it seems more of a natural conversation rather than in most kids' books where it's the evil person will tell them their plan and then that's it. Here it's kind of
yeah,
proposed plan.
Yeah, so this is a manipulation of Percy to frame his dad, basically, because both sides
It's not even that. It's a 3-way war. It's between Hades, Zeus, and Poseidon.
Yeah, it's supposed to trick Hades into thinking that, Poseidon has the Helm of Darkness, and then to trick Zeus into thinking that, does that also Poseidon has the Master Bolt, right? Hold on.
So how it is it's a triple cross. You have Poseidon, clearly he's innocent, but he thinks either of his brothers are trying to set him up. You have Percy with the Master Bolt going to Hades, accusing Percy of stealing the Helm of Darkness and trying to steal the Master Bolt, so he has a bargaining chip because he thinks it's all a setup from Poseidon, but Zeus thinks that...
so Ares gave him the enchanted backpack, and that's why he has the Master Bolt, is because it just magically appeared in his backpack when he showed up in the underworld, is basically...
See, this is where I need a squeaky whiteboard, and then just you see, this is, there's the weird Lemony Snicket-esque conspiracy chart.
Yeah, hooking up the little red yarn.
I keep looking at it just don't add up. But who was phone?
Hand hook, what is it? Door, car?
Oh, a hand hook carman door?
Yeah, hand hook carman door.
So this chapter opens up with Percy, Grover, and Annabeth float in the ocean, and they're picked up by the Coast Guard during the apocalypse.
And the Coast Guard's so freaked out, they're not even, like, confused at all as to why these children are just, like, chilling in the water.
Well, I just, like, imagine in my brain, it's like, well, you see, they either were, like, playing out when the earthquake hit and they got swept in through the water, or they're just, like, a bunch of weird daredevils. And the funny thing is Percy uses his magical powers to get wet. I willed my powers to not work.
So it wouldn't be suspicious that he's just, like, this dry child. In the
Just
middle
imagine,
of
like, they pick us up, wow, these kids are dry. Huh. That's weird. And they looks at, like, the skyline, well, there's this huge earthquake with thousands probably dead or missing.
Speaking of as seen on TV, maybe he's dry because he sprayed himself with, like, what is that weird stuff that they spray into gutters so that way it doesn't leak? And they're always, like, advertising it.
Oh,
like,
you mean a duct tape suit?
Well, no, not duct tape, but it's like a spray, and it's like a rubber spray that solidifies, and you could put it on anything, and then it's waterproof.
But it's really funny because, Percy also gave Grover his shoes because he still has his hooves.
Oh, right. I forgot about the hooves. There's a lot of stuff that could blow up their spot.
The funny thing, though, is, like, the Coast Guard totally, like, just kicks him off the boat. And, like, I'm going to go save more people. Don't... Go find your parents.
Well, I mean, they describe it like, oh, their radios were jammed with distress calls. So they're just kind of panicking. Like, all right, these kids seem vaguely safe on land. I need to go.
But this is kind of like where they kind of get into the discussion about who's really pulling the strings a little bit here. Surprise, surprise, guess who's there? Ares, god of war.
Kind of saw this coming. With his motorcycle.
I mean, to be fair, who else could it possibly be? Would you imagine, yes, it's me, Dionysus.
That would be a twist. It'd be a triple twist.
Yep, he was just trying to have a party, like he got like blackout drunk and stole the boat by mistake. Well, I guess I need to start a war. So he frames Peter Johnson, and then they go on this whole magical quest.
So yeah, basically the description of what's going on is Percy was supposed to die, and then that would enrage Poseidon, and then Hades was supposed to be given the Master Bolt because it magically appeared in the underworld because of the enchanted backpack.
And then Zeus would be mad at everybody, so they would just cause this gigantic war, which would destroy everything.
And then also Hades would think that one of them stole the Helm of Darkness, even though it was Ares who stole the Helm of Darkness.
Which, here's another thing that was kind of bothering me, but while I was reading this is, well, technically they're out in the open. Can't Zeus or Poseidon now hear this because there's both the sky and the ocean?
I was thinking that, right? Like, I thought that they have some level of omnipresence. We talked about this last episode, too, where sometimes they, like, reveal stuff that's going on, and it just seems weird that they're so, like, in the dark about certain things. Like, how are they able to steal all this stuff if a lot of these gods have, like, dominion over, like, a whole area of the world? Like, how would they not see what's going on?
Well, I think that has to deal with the idea of the demigods because they can go anywhere and challenge anyone. It's kind of like that idea,
they
but
can't
it's
go
like
everywhere.
The problem though is I'm
gods.
looking at here. It's almost like in Clash of the Titans where they actually see all this stuff with like the world map. Where I don't understand. Like, basically, Ares has set his entire plan out in the open, out through the literal sky and air and ocean. Why can't Poseidon or Zeus hear all this stuff and be like, we were duped? Because wouldn't it be like Poseidon would be taking careful look at Percy and then Zeus would be doing the same thing because they've technically found the Master Bolt? Or is it because they have their heads so far up their butt that they're in New York right now not paying attention?
I think it's probably that. It's probably like they see the situation for like what they think it is and they don't want to know the actual truth. We've seen that a lot with gods in general. Like, when Percy tried to explain himself to Zeus, when Percy tried to explain himself to Hades, like, none of them believe him when he says, oh, I didn't steal the Master Bolt, or, oh, I didn't steal your Helm of Darkness. Like, they have no reason to, I guess, and so they just don't. It's frustrating and annoying, though.
It's kind of like the idea of just having, like, Percy with a tape recorder or, like, something to record, and then just going back later on with Zeus and then just playing it.
Right? Like, I feel like the technology is there.
Well, I mean, it's like really silly because it's almost like there's a scene in Batman Returns where the Penguin says his evil plan and Batman gets it on a CD. So he's playing it at the Penguin's, like, mayoral, I think. He actually gets mayor. But I just remember because there's a part where, like, Batman, like, scratches the CD as if it's like a record. So it makes, like, the weird, like, DJ scratch. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Doesn't work like
It's
that.
like, that's not how CD was work. All right. You just ruined that CD.
But it's kind of like something like that. Like you would imagine it would be like a situation like this, or like because they're saying the god's names, so obviously it's like a beacon. But you know what? We're going super in depth in this. Besides that, they're all a bunch of like weird, like they have their heads so far up their butts.
Yeah, they're jerks, and they kind of want a reason to fight in some ways. Like they have like these long-standing feuds, and they already made like agreements that they didn't stick to because Poseidon wasn't supposed to have a kid.
And also Zeus wasn't supposed to have a kid. The only one that's held up his part of the bargain has been Hades.
That's true. He is the only one.
No, Hades is just like, guys, we should have gotten those like abstinence rings, like we promised. But of course, I'm
like the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus are the Jonas Brothers, and then Ares is the bonus Jonas.
The bonus Jonas. What are the other ones? There was like a Jonas Brothers show on Nickelodeon. I can't remember. It was like a kids band. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
The Naked Brothers Band. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yes, the Naked Brothers Band. Thank you.
Oh, right. It was Nat and Alex Wolff, and now he's still an actor.
But I mean, it's like an interesting idea that we have here that has been proposed, especially like God's breaking promises, God's not keeping promises, and especially it's like the idea of while they're talking to Ares, he kind of brings up like other things such as Ares grinned, well now, I didn't steal them personally, God's taking each other's symbols of power, that's a big no-no, but you're not the only heroes in the world who can run errands. So it's the same thing, it's like God's having kids doing their bidding.
Yeah, they're just manipulating all their children. Gods are bad. They're bad. They're very selfish and cruel to their family and to everyone else. They just manipulate people and get them to do their dirty work, and it's just like all petty infighting. It's like not only are they not like omnipotent or like infallible, but they're probably more fallible than most humans because they have like all this power at their disposal to just like enact like petty revenge against each other.
Is it because they have all this power, or do you think because they're extreme narcissists because they've been worshipped for thousands of years?
I mean, probably both, right? I mean, that's like inherent in having that much power. Like, you know, the whole old Spider-Man great power, great responsibility deal. I was right in my guess that Ares is involved, but it's like not just Ares because this has to do with the weird dreams that Percy has been having.
Oh, you mean weird pit thing?
Weird pit thing. What is that called again? What are the words
Tartarus.
for the pit? Tartarus, yeah. So the weird pit thing has been not only spookily whispering to Percy.
It's been spookily whispering sweet nothings into his ear.
Yes, it's also been spookily whispering stuff to Ares. And Percy kind of realizes that Ares was tasked by Zeus to be another... Yeah, he was getting him to go and find who stole the Master Bolt, which that's what Percy was already doing, but whatever. But he didn't trust Percy.
But Ares discovered the thief automatically, and he kind of got the idea that why don't we just have a gigantic big old war and let the person go free.
Right. So he didn't actually want to do anything about it, which really kind of... I mean, Zeus, that's kind of your fault for trusting Ares.
Well, I would imagine it's the same idea of why would you not trust Ares, the god of war? It's kind of like it's your brother, after all, or stepbrother.
Yeah, but if my brother was the god of war, I would not... I would not send them on a quest that has a lot to do with whether or not a giant god war starts.
Well, you probably didn't think that there was going to be a war started because of this. I thought it was probably like a simple, like, mischievous thing. Let's just handle it quickly, because I'm sure the god of war gets results.
So yeah, Percy kind of figures this out and is like, oh, well, it was Tartarus. That's why you've been listening to Tartarus and, like, let everything just go to crap because you want the war to happen. And then, like, it's really funny because, like, Ares is immediately like, oh, no, what are you talking about? I don't even have dreams. And, like, Percy didn't even mention the dream part and he's like, oh, well.
Dreams? What do you mean by dreams? Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. So he's been sort of lured away by the siren song of the weird Tartarus pit and whoever's voice that is that's making him do this stuff.
Ares, you could have World War III. Just think about it. It sounds like a swell idea. I like that idea. I mean, what do you want? Bombs, guns, nukes? You'll have it all. Just let this guy go. For some reason, in my brain, he sounds like Mr. Rogers.
It's okay to start wars.
It's okay to steal the Master Bolt. I'm about to say, isn't that right, Lamb Chop? Oh my... That's not the wrong thing.
No, that's Sherry Lewis. That's a different different genre. Right, same genre, different show.
It was me. It was just, it's Kermit comes out the thing. I was the one that stole the Master Bolt. Yay!
One day you'll find it. The Master Bolt and Helm of Darkness.
And what's on the other side?
I have a banjo-lele and I know how to play the Rainbow Connection on the banjo-lele.
It's kind of like that. That is the quintessential song of the 70s for kids.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's good.
But yeah, so they're on this beach and things are getting weird because all of a sudden, good old Ares pulls out a ski mask that slowly starts turning into the Helm of Darkness because we have to do more like American things, like the illusion of. I like that. I still like that idea of just like ordinary things that like take on the appearance of supernatural artifacts.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I like that like detail. I find that kind of stuff funny.
But I mean, like in universe to a kid, that would make more sense, especially like having the idea of like Americanism with like Greek culture, or I guess was it Greekism or Grecoism?
Grecoism. Yeah, whatever. It's a good like world building technique to like make the human world and the godlike world kind of mesh into one thing.
I mean, we have it with Riptide with the pen. We have it with Annabeth's
right,
hat of
exactly.
invisibility. We even have it with Grover's
With the sneakers, yeah, same thing.
Reebok shoes that have fallen out. Get it? Pump it up and air it out. We're not sponsored by Reebok whatsoever. I just like saying that.
Does anybody wear Reebok shoes anymore? I don't think I've seen a pair in like 10 years.
Oh, people wear classic throwback Reeboks.
Yeah, I'm sure. There are people obsessed with sneakers still. I don't get those people, but whatever.
The other thing that I like about this is that, Percy actually asked him, what's his goal about this is, and Ares, being the god of war, kind of like literally the personification of war, just says, it's fun when relatives fight because it's kind of true. Like, usually, like, when you have relatives fighting, they'll go all at it rather than, like, two strangers. So it's like, Ares shrugged, best kind of war, always the bloodiest. Nothing like watching your relatives fight, I always say.
Yeah, he's pretty messed up, honestly.
I mean, honestly, have you ever had a good time during Thanksgiving where someone hasn't been a butthead?
No.
Like, you can't have, like, a Thanksgiving or Christmas without, like, someone getting upset.
My Thanksgiving is really nice now because my mom has basically, like, whittled down the guest list to be, like, one cousin.
I mean, like, when relatives fight, it's, like, the most intense thing in the world. But when it's, like, two strangers fight, it's, like, a one-and-done type of thing. Like, there's the thing about, like, having, like, the relative shuns.
Well, when relatives fight, it has all of the bitterness and, like, grudges of however many years they've known that person. It's like when you fight with a relative, it's like, oh, well, you did this. It's like my grandma still talks about how, like, one time in, I don't know, like in the 40s or something, her sister stole her favorite dress or something. Like that kind of stuff people still, like, think about and fight about, like, years and years later. It's so weird.
Well, I mean, that's where, like, the Hatfields and McCoys come into play and having that weird 200-year family feud.
That, like, no one even really knows how it started. It's that kind of thing.
No one cares, but yet they care about it for some weird reason. But that's kind of the same thing with here. It's a very arbitrary thing about people stealing their symbols of power. Like, in real actuality, who really cares?
Yeah.
It shouldn't really care.
I mean, I guess they do have physical power, like they have literal purpose, but it's way more about the symbology of them being taken.
Well, I mean, I think of it kind of like the person that has, like, that wears a toupee and someone steals it. It's kind of like that. It's like you've lost your symbol of power, which is your hair. And it's kind of like being humiliated.
Yeah. Toupee is a symbol of power.
But I mean, it's interesting because it's a god having an argument with a demigod, and I think that's, like, one of the more interesting things because Ares could just turn him into whatever he wants. He could turn him into, like, a little ant or, like, a penguin or anything he wants.
A penguin.
Penguin Jackson and the lightning fish.
Not the fish thief?
Oh, the fish thief? Well, that sounds like some fishy business up in here.
Did you ever see that meme that's like, at a zoo, they, like, post, like, the best penguin and the worst penguin?
Oh, yeah, I've
up
seen
on
that.
a board. It's like, this penguin's very misbehaved and steals a lot of fish.
My favorite one is the manatee that gets embarrassed when they give him a bouquet of, like, fish.
Yeah, that's so cute.
But, I mean, here it's like, I kind of like how the whole point of this is, as it's happening, the police show up, because Ares and Percy are about to go down and, like,
fighting on the beach.
then, like, a guy shows up with, like, a boombox on his, like, arm, and they're just playing like random music, and then they just get like down and dirty.
Imagine they did like a rap battle.
Well, Ares would win because he'd be spitting war fire.
Do you think his mixtape would be good?
It's just a bunch of people screaming in agony.
I thought that would be Hades' mixtape. Or
Well, no, Hades does death metal.
that's true. You wouldn't hear about it though because it's very underground.
Oh, it is very underground.
All
You
right.
wouldn't understand. You can only get it on 8-track or our new patent line of wax cylinders.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone told us that they'd actually buy our vintage podcasting equipment.
That's crazy. Don't do that.
But yeah, so Percy and Ares start to get into kind of a yelling match as people start showing up. And Percy does the stupidest or bravest thing and challenges Ares to a fight
Yeah, the god of war.
because he needs to get the Helm of Darkness back. He has the Master Bolt. He has to get out of the situation, somehow get to New York City in less than 12 hours while the apocalypse is happening here. So this isn't good.
Yeah, they start fighting, which is a bad idea. Percy tries to, like, use the water to his advantage, but, like, Ares is trying to, like, persuade him away from the water because he knows that that's where his powers come from.
I mean, one of the hardest things I always considered is trying to write a fight scene in a book. Like, I think those are, like, incredibly difficult to write because it's, like, in the author's brain, they have this awesome, amazing fight scene, and then when you try writing it down, it's like, what am I like reading or listening to or whatever it is. But here it actually makes sense because I've like gone to seminars where people explain how to write fight scenes, and it's like sometimes people like overcomplicate it.
It's pretty difficult. Well, because it's so, like, technical, and you have to get a lot of, like, exposition done. Like, it's really actually very hard to describe specific physical actions in a way that isn't clunky and kind of annoying to read.
Oh, it's like in Twilight when Jacob laughs, ha ha ha, he said.
Yeah, like that. Only it's literally not that hard to describe someone laughing, but someone messed it up.
But I mean, it's really difficult to actually write a fight scene that actually makes sense. I remember Patrick Rothfuss did an interview once where he was talking about how in this first book he did a fight scene, and he actually met up with fans, and they went to like Del Taco or something, and they were like telling him like, "Oh man, I can't believe that your main character knows kung fu." And like, no, I don't. So in actuality, in the next book, he actually wrote that the character learned kung fu as a joke
Because it seemed like the character knew kung fu because of the way that they were fighting.
Yeah, the way they described it, or like the interpretation of the reader, thought that they knew kung fu or martial arts, when in all actuality that wasn't the case at all. But I mean, it's also really hard, especially in kids' books, to have like action scenes because it's like, do you want to have this character, like this kid, physically kill a person or like mortally wound them?
Yeah, because that's kind of dark, right?
Well, I mean, I've read AKA The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe,
Yeah, that's
where
pretty.
they actually kill the White Witch, or like in The Hobbit.
Well, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is especially weird and dark, though.
Well, I mean, also it's like in The Hobbit, like Bilbo doesn't kill Schmaug, it's actually someone else.
Yeah.
And they have like this horrific battle, but they don't show it. It's kind of like
Right, it happens
they show
off
the
screen.
aftermath.
Yeah, people die in children's media is just oftentimes they die either in a way that's like not directly related to the main characters, or they die in like a very fantastical way that doesn't make it seem real. So like it's not like they get stabbed and they start spurting blood everywhere and then it's like gruesome and horrible. Instead they just kind of like explode into a bunch of magical shards of like glitter or whatever.
Or dust or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The whole like no, and there's like smoke and glitter and
The hardest part though is if you actually, well, we're talking about Percy fighting against a god that is immortal, but it's kind of like the same thing if let's just take out that Ares is not immortal and they're these technically two people battling to the death. Like one, it's like Thunderdome almost, like 2 men enter, 1 man leave.
would he just like not die? Would he just show up in Hades somehow? Like I'm kind of confused about.
Ares?
Yeah, Ares can't die though, right?
Ares is immortal, so if you stabbed him, there would be like no mortal wound. He would just, like, what happens in the story? He turns into his true god form and then just leaves.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really kill a god. The worst you can do is imprison them. It's pretty much Percy Jackson is on a suicide mission. Like, he's just trying to bide time.
Yeah, I guess this is like the only way he could convince Ares. Like, I don't really understand totally why they're fighting if Ares can't die, but I don't know. Maybe there's some way to convince Ares to stop doing what he's doing if they have a fight.
Well, I mean, it's also the idea of why don't they just have, hey, Annabeth, Grover, you take the Master Bolt and the Helm of Darkness and run away, and I will give you as much time as humanly possible before, like, I die. Kind of like the hero sacrifice here. But it doesn't happen like that, so they're fighting, and the police show up, and they get backup, so it's like a bunch of, like, police officers having this weird standoff while a kid's fighting an adult. And the way they see it is Ares has pulled out this huge sword, and it's turning into a sword and then turning into a shotgun, which I don't get why it's a...
Yeah, I don't know.
In my brain, like, trying to picture that, it's like, wait, so Ares is beating a kid with a shotgun rather than, like, using it?
Like, pistol whipping him in the face.
Yeah, it's like, what? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's like the weird, like, willful ignorance of mortal thing that they used to describe, like, why humans don't see all the magical stuff happening around them all the time.
Well, yeah, it's especially, like, when it comes to, again, like, writing a kid's story, if you have Percy Jackson actually killing Ares, that is pretty much, like, the loss of innocence for Percy Jackson. Like, once you kill somebody, there's, like, no turning back. Some kids' books will handle it just like, oh, okay, like I inadvertently, it's almost like in Series of Unfortunate Events when they contemplate, why don't we just push Candleoff off the boat and just be done with it? But, you know, they'd still technically have the blood on their hands.
Yeah, so the police see them fighting, but they see them having a gunfight instead.
So the police do nothing. It's like they're just watching this happen like a cage fight.
Like a cage fight.
Surprise, surprise, the person in the main story of this book, you know, Ares, the god of war, loses his battle. It says Percy Jackson, the Olympian. So Percy obviously wins this fight.
Yeah.
And what he does is he kind of like does something that's like, I feel like could have been established earlier. And like he like uses the water to like, almost like a soda pop. And like he like shakes himself up and like sprints into Ares, cutting his Achilles tendon. Ironically, you know, his physically Achilles heel.
Yeah, which is like, I thought was kind of weird, like, oh, is that everyone's weakness is their heel, or are they just making a reference?
I think they're just making a reference, because it's kind of like the idea of like this big meaty guy that is Ares is brought down by like such a like small little force.
Yeah.
If you could essentially think of it, everyone has a fatal flaw, which you would imagine that obviously Ares... Actually, what do you think Ares' fatal flaw would be? Because I think it's his hot-headedness.
Like physically? Yeah.
Yeah, like
it would be
his
that.
fatal flaw. Everyone has one.
You'd
Doesn't
like
matter.
make him so angry that he would like explode.
Well, kind of like that. I feel like if you make him so angry, he kind of loses focus and he starts to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I feel like he's very prideful. Like the second Percy started making fun of him and like saying like, you know, the thing about Ares is he's supposed to be like doing quotation marks or quotation marks. I'm doing quotations with my hands that look like quotation marks.
Air quotes.
Air quotes. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Is that he was like, Percy's like, you're not the one pulling the strings. Like someone's pulling the strings of you, Ares.
Yeah, and then he feels like offended by that because he wants to be in control of everything because he's the god of war and that's his deal.
And it ends up with like a whizzing contest, which Percy wins.
Somehow.
All the best he can do is he can hurt Ares by actually cutting him and causing his golden blood to fall out.
His ichor is what they call that, I guess.
I don't know. Like for me, it just reminds me of like it's like really thick and syrupy.
Ugh.
Obviously, Ares is not like this, and he pulls Percy in close and like tells him, "You made an enemy, Godling," he told me. "You have sealed your fate. Every time you raise your blade in battle, every time you hoped success, you will feel my curse. Beware, Perseus Jackson. Beware."
Dun dun dun.
And then like it's almost like a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark where good old Ares turns into his god form and Percy just, you have to shield your eyes.
He's like, don't watch.
Don't look, as a bunch of Nazis get like disintegrated.
Yeah, because he starts to glow and I guess that's like his horrifying god form that you can't fully see. It's kind of like the old idea of like angels where like they're so like bright and heavenly that you would just like destroy your body by looking at them.
Well, yeah, you turn to salt.
Yeah.
The problem though I have with the scene though is kind of like while I was reading this was Percy's the first one to think shield your eyes, but he doesn't tell anyone. Except all the bystanders, because, curiosity killed the cat. You just have a bunch of people that are now vaporized.
Well, no, Annabeth is the one who shouted it, though, right? Yeah, because his body began to glow. Percy, Annabeth shouted, "Don't watch." So
But all the bystanders are still gonna look.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you just have, like, a bunch of, like, vaporized police officers.
Are they affected by gods the same way that demigods are?
I would imagine so.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, that would suck for everybody, like, waiting in the wings, oh, look, that man is fine, and now we're all dead.
But it's such a horrific thing. Just imagine seeing a god's true form. That must be insane. I feel like that's almost like a Lovecraftian type of horror. You just go mad if you don't die from the blast.
Which is almost worse. Like, a slow death is probably worse. Yeah, so somehow they defeat him, even though he tries to, like, kill them with his magic glowy body.
And that fails because Ares is not good at anything.
Yeah, and then they just find the Helm of Darkness, like, in the water. It's just left there.
It's just left there. And, of course, who saw the entire thing was Mrs. Dodds.
AKA the Furies.
Yes, I kind of like the weird juxtaposition here where Percy actually impresses her by giving her the Helm of Darkness. She kind of like is like, hopefully you become a true hero, because if not, I will kill you. Because if you die, you'll never see the end of me. Which I kind of like that it's kind of like it starts at the end type of thing. Like the beginning is where Percy's journey has ended. Like it starts with Mrs. Dodds and it ends with Mrs. Dodds.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird interaction because like she's already kind of attacked him, and then now she's one of the few like mythical encounters that he's had where someone actually believes him, because she saw the whole fight where he got the Helm of Darkness back. So he was like, all right, take this to Hades. Like finally there's like proof sort of that Percy isn't involved in this.
Which is good, and now that solves one problem. Now the second problem is they have to get back to New York City in less than 6 hours.
The only way you could do that is a plane, and the only way you can take a plane is if you go into the sky where Zeus is. So that's kind of a rock and a hard place of a situation.
There's always outer space.
Yeah. Wait, or does he have dominion over outer space too? How does that work? How far into the sky?
He only has dominion of the sky.
Just the sky. Okay, so just our atmosphere.
Yes, afterwards, once you get into outer space, that's what's like Cthulhu territory. I don't know, Rick Riordan hasn't talked about what's in outer space yet.
I love like the ending sentences of this chapter, because it's just like, we have to get back to New York. I said, by tonight. That's impossible, Annabeth said. Unless we fly, I agreed. She stared at me. Fly like in an airplane, which you were warned never to do lest Zeus strike you out of the sky, and carrying a weapon that has more destructive power than a nuclear bomb. Yeah, I said, pretty much exactly like that. Come on.
Sarcastic to the very end.
Yeah. I mean, I find that really relatable. I would probably make a joke like that if I was in such a dire situation.
Well, I mean, for me, I just make jokes about that because what else are you supposed to do?
Yeah, that's true. It's pretty sketchy.
That's what the great thing about this chapter, though, is what happens now? They've solved some of the problems. Now there's more problems.
So we have 2 chapters left. All right, so they have the Master Bolt still. They gave the Helm of Darkness to Hades already. So
that's one problem solved.
They need to get the Master Bolt to Zeus, which I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how they're going to...
The only way they can do is they also don't have money, so how does one get an airplane?
I don't know, actually. Would they just be able to grab onto Grover and he could fly them there with his shoes?
He doesn't have the shoes anymore, remember?
Oh, right.
They flew into Tartarus. Unless this is like never-ending story. Hop on my back, Grover. We're gonna call Falcor.
Or yeah, like call the Eagles, something.
Oh my god, it's like Grover's like, Percy, I need you to find me like 4 butterflies.
Yeah, I guess Grover does have, like, sort of reign over nature and stuff. Could he just, like, summon a bunch of animals to take them?
He only summons penguins.
It's like, no, you're a useless bird. Get out of here. Oh, that's kind of sad.
They, like, waddle away. Come back. What do you mean like that? So, what do you think is going to happen next chapter, B?
All right, so they need to do something with Zeus, and they need to do something with the Master Bolt. Do they need to go to Mount Olympus in order to return the Master Bolt? How's that going to work? Or if they're in the sky, could they just, like, heave the Master Bolt into the air and he will catch it? Probably not.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
If it did, it would be so much easier.
It'd be much easier. So they still need to take a plane. It's probably going to be a really bad time. There's going to be a lot of turbulence. They might die. It'll be, like, very close call situation. Percy will try to explain himself. He won't believe it. yada, yada, yada. That whole same spiel we've been dealing with none of the gods believing him, even though he's done nothing wrong. They'll somehow make it to Mount Olympus because they gotta. I mean, that's probably how the next chapter is going to end, is they'll make it to New York, and then they'll be like, and then we saw Mount Olympus, and then we'll find out what happens in the last chapter. That's kind of the trajectory that it's probably going on right now.
Yeah, but we also have, like, less than 100 pages, so we have a lot going to happen in that time.
I mean, the next chapter is probably going to be mainly about them finding a plane and getting on it somehow, and, like, the whole plane ride to find Mount Olympus.
Let's ask the Oracle, B. What is the name of the next chapter?
I actually didn't look at the name of the next chapter. I settle my tab. So yeah, he has to confront Zeus in some way. I mean, I kind of see the general trajectory of the last two chapters. He's gonna have to confront Zeus in some way. Are we gonna see Poseidon maybe? Is Poseidon gonna finally show his face and actually deal with all of the stuff that he's made his son confront? I don't know.
My answer is...
I can't tell you. That's what your answer is.
Can't tell you.
I'm just like, rhetorically saying it.
We're going to find out some closure. We only have 2 chapters left, and I think that's really interesting. It's always the last 2 chapters that I have always found the most interesting of books. Either they're really amazing or really terrible.
Yeah, it kind of, is the turning point of all of this stuff that we built up, all of the lore and the plot points. Like, we're going to see what's going to happen. I don't know. Also, I know that this is a series, so I probably not everything's going to be wrapped up in a neat little bow.
Unless it is, and the other ones are just a dream. Percy wakes up, I'm back in Kansas.
Wait, I wasn't from Kansas.
And you were there, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there. Why are there so many people in my room?
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my general guess. I don't know the specifics of what's going to happen. The plane ride's probably going to be harrowing, to say the least.
Or it's going to be they fly first class. I really like this chapter. I felt like there was a lot of interesting little tidbits of information, mystery upon mystery. It makes sense because before Rick Riordan wrote this, he wrote a big mystery series, Tres Navarra, so he's really good at writing mystery novels.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, he sets up all of, like, the Oracle stuff, and he incorporates all, like, the complicated moving parts in a way that, like, isn't too confusing, but is still interesting. There's a lot of characters that are, like, playing off each other and have different dynamics, and no one believes Percy. There's a lot of, like, really complicated things going on, but it still makes sense. It's, like, not too, like, highfalutin world building stuff where you're like, wait a second, why do we need the Helm of Darkness? Like, I don't ever find myself asking questions about why things are important, which is good.
You don't just scratch your head and be like, well, because the story dictates this happens, because it has to happen. Here, there's actually like a nice build up, and then there's a nice little, payoff.
Yeah, there's like an internal logic to the mythical stuff that goes on, which is nice. I'm really excited that we're almost done with this book, and then we get to watch the first garbage movie.
So we did get a lot of listener mail this week. We didn't get any podcast reviews that I know of. I'll look through all the usual channels. If we haven't seen them, please just email us and we will read them on the show. You don't even have to send it to us on iTunes. You can just email us at radiocamphaplet@gmail.com. So we actually have an amazing, really big, detailed email from Dominic. I first want to say this podcast is great. It made my time studying discrete, in quotation marks, math, it isn't math, a bit more fun and bearable. On to why Poseidon gave 3 pearls instead of 4. Annabeth did say that there was no such thing as a free lunch, that all things have a cost. Leaving someone behind could be the cost of 3 pearls. A lot of gifts in Percy Jackson universe seem to operate with the delayed cost, as in the cost comes at the time of use and not at time making it. Next part is somewhat of a hint to later books, so I will not read that. Another reason why Poseidon could only have gotten 3 pearls is because Poseidon's wife stopped him at 3 due to her feelings of both his illegitimate child and his lover was a bit much. Which I think that also makes sense, too. But also a lot of, one of the things, it's not really a spoiler, but in Greek plays, Greek tragedies, and Greek stories, there's the thing of, like, 3 is the lucky number.
Okay, yeah, so there's that too, like in most, even fantasy stories and stuff, like the rule of 3. So I understand that. I mean, we were talking about, like, I guess literal reasons why they wouldn't have 3 pearls, but as far as like story construction reasons, it makes sense why there are only 3.
So we have another part of this. So the infinite money card would probably solve neither world poverty or could probably cause a crash. One needs to look at the long line of examples of people who thought introducing more currency into a system was a good idea.
Oh,
The
yeah.
obvious result is hyperinflation. It doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin, paper, or precious metal. Spain learned the hard way when they brought back loads of silver and crashed their entire economy. As a result, this is why England ended up ruling half of the world and not Spain, since England found valuable trade through the resource of sugar.
Wow, history lesson.
Well, I mean, it's also the idea of like hyperinflation, especially like that's where the term "it ain't worth a continental" comes into play, because the continental dollar wasn't backed by anything, so it would cost more to do it that way. Same as with actually.
Well, yeah, like the example I always think of is the Weimar Republic, and that people had to like wield giant buckets of money to pay for like a loaf of bread.
Yeah, because most people also use this as pretty much like wallpaper paste.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I think we were just using it as a joke about fixing the world economy because, you know, you have this card that has infinite monies. Just imagine all of the Fortnite bucks you could get for free.
I would still probably be like, I would go a little crazy with an infinite money card. What would you get if you had an infinite money card right now?
Shoes.
Shoes?
Shoes. Oh my God, like,
shoes.
let's get some shoes. These shoes rule. These shoes are $300. These shoes are $300. These shoes are $300 freaking dollars.
Let's get 'em.
Get them.
I wonder how many people got that reference.
No, if I had to get something, like if I had to like have like something that's impractical, this is just me, but I would actually probably want to get a Jeep used from Jurassic Park.
I mean, like, my boring answer is I would pay off my student loans.
Oh, my boring answer is I'd pay off everyone's student loans.
That's true. Yeah, I would do that. But then, aside from, like, debt stuff, I don't know, actually. I'd probably get a better car. My car is kind of crap.
I don't know. I feel like for me, I'd have to buy something so impractical that for me, it would only be something that you would know that Zach spent money on if he had super unlimited income. So maybe I'd actually buy the Ark of the Covenant from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything super frivolous I would want. Like, I don't know. Oh, do you know what I want? Actually, I want the spyglass from A Series of Unfortunate Events, because I can't find a replica anywhere, and I really want one.
Thank you, Dominic, for that wonderful message. We really appreciate it.
I actually don't think I got any messages this week. I thought I did, but it must have been for Just Unfortunate Associates.
So we have an email from Cabin 3 Captain. Here's my Iris message. Hi, Zach and B. I'm only 6 episodes in, so I don't know if there are any questions you haven't answered, but oh well. In the cover of your podcast, which person is which? I'm the left person, the dashingly handsome, rotund man with glasses.
You're the glasses one. And I'm the one that looks like an elf. The smaller one with the swoopy hair. My hair's more swoopy than in the cover photo, generally speaking.
I mean, I think it's a really good picture that Meg did. It just encapsulates both of us.
Yeah, it really captures a certain personality of both of us. I just love that our mouths are so Muppety. We just look so happy.
Yay! My entire life, I just wanted to have like the Muppet run, where like you like bounce up and down and like you leave the room. That is my goal.
Wait, what's the Muppet run?
Have you ever seen a Muppet run?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Or get like super excited like when Kermit like flails his arms everywhere. Is like that's the amount of happiness at my wedding that's going to occur.
He's gonna wiggle.
Yay! So a little bit more of that email. If you answered this already, I don't know, but have to again. But who is your godly parents? Mine's Poseidon. Not that you care. No, we care.
We care, yeah.
We care. Love your podcast. ... Bye!
Should we say, or should we just refer people to the bonus episode?
I mean, you could just listen to the episode, but I guess if people haven't listened to it, we did do a godly parent test. Ours is Athena, and this is the first and last time we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's Athena, but maybe our quiz revealed something different. Go and listen.
That looks like that's all the emails for this week. I think that's pretty much everything for this episode. I really appreciate you all coming to listen to us ramble and rant and have a fun time.
We were actually pretty concise in this one.
Yep.
Considering.
So, B, where can they find you?
You can find me on Tumblr at twinpoetry.tumblr.com, and you can find me on Twitter at bkellygorman.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Suda41. That's SUDA41. If you want to follow our show on Twitter, you can follow us at at halfblood_radio. If you want to email the show and send us any wonderful Iris messages, you can email us at radiocamphalfblood@gmail.com. And we also have a new website up, so we all have our stuff centralized, and you can go on our forums and all that stuff. That is www.ghoulishfancies.com. Also, if you want to follow us on Patreon, support the show, help us keep the lights on, we'd really appreciate that. We also have bonus content, which is great. You also get content super early, so the second it's finished editing, it will be put on that page for at least a day or two, so you can get it exclusively, and it's amazing.
Yeah, you can get stuff early. It's exciting.
Shirts, we got them. We got shirts. If you want those.
Yeah, we got shirts with our whimsical cartoon faces on it. You don't have to get a shirt. My mom got her shirt recently. But she also got a tote bag. You can get that.
Were they
you
good?
Can get a
Did
mug.
they look good, those shirts?
She didn't show me. I was like, "Can I see them?" And she's like, "I'll show you tomorrow." And then she didn't. But anyway.
But we got them. Do you want a mug? I drank out of my face a couple of days ago, so that was weird.
Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff. I think there's stickers. You could get stickers. You could stick them on things. Be like, hey, I love this podcast. Huh, put a sticker on it. Play a prank on all your friends. Order a bunch of stickers and put them all over their desk.
Well, I'm Zach.
And I'm B.
And keep staying mortal. Bye.
See you guys.